You're listening to Served Up, a podcast that features inspiring beverage professionals and topic experts that share their passions through meaningful conversations. I'm your host, Bridget Albert, also known as the Market Fresh Mixologist, an industry mentor with decades of experience. Grab a cocktail and sit back. Let's learn how we can make a positive impact in our industry. Hey y'all, it's Bridget here in this very special episode led by guest host, Master Sommelier from Southern Glazer's Wine and Spirits, Serafin Alvarado, chats with none other than Charles Lazzara. He is a one-of-a-kind importer who lets the wines and the people behind them do the talking. As the founder of Volio Imports, he's built a portfolio rooted in family-owned estates, regional character, and a deep respect for tradition, especially across Italy. His path from finance to wine gives him both business clarity and a genuine curiosity, a balance that shows up in every single bottle that he brings to market. So sit back, relax, grab yourself your favorite glass of Volio imported wine, and enjoy this very special episode.
Welcome, everybody, to Served Up Podcast. We have the great distinction and honor to have in our podcast today as guest Charles Lazzara. Charles Lazzara is the founder and CEO of Volio Imports. And I had the great honor of meeting him this year in October, right? We met at
Vineyard, Chicago.
At Vineyard, USA in Chicago, and met his wife and the team. And we had a great conversation back then, and been working with his brands here in Illinois for some time. And actually recently just came back fairly recently from Sicily. We'll talk a little bit about that and Duca Salparuta and Florio and the great experience that I had there in that sense. Like I said, Charles started in this business in 2007, I believe, right?
That's correct. Yes.
At the age of 25. So before we get into deep conversation, I just want to, if you can give us a rundown of how you got into this world of wine per se, and that eventually motivated you to build your company, Volio Imports.
I would tell you that I didn't pick wine. Wine picked me. You know what I mean? I was a student abroad. I was living in Florence. I'm the youngest of four. I'll start there. And I had this really great opportunity, thanks largely because my older siblings all did it. They went abroad to different countries and stuff like that during college. And so my parents extended me the same opportunity. And my brother had just been to Italy. We have Italian heritage, but we're American, third generation of Italian immigrants. And my brother came back from Florence, was really excited about it, lived with a host family, and got to learn a bit of the language, and came back and went to IU and had a good time. I was at Miami of Ohio. So I was like, oh, this is a cool idea. That'd be great. I'd love to see if I could learn the language and discover Italy. I had never traveled abroad, and we didn't fly a lot as a family just because there are four of us. And so it was my first trip, really big trip, obviously. And I took a wine tasting course at this as part of my general credits, right? Because you're there to get general requirements. You're not learning about physics and stuff like that. It was just more language, history, etc. And I had this incredible experience there where go in and there's 8 of us in this class, and this teacher at the time, his name was Jonathan Verducci, says, we're have a glass of wine and says, drink it. So we all just, throw it back because we're in college and that's what you do with wine, right? And he goes, okay, now drink wine the way that I want you to drink wine. And he goes, you just swish it around like it's mouthwash and now swallow it. And it was a glass of Sangiovese, simple wine, easy Chianti, something like that, we're in Florence. So it's basically that this is what you have to drink. Then he described everything that was going on in the palate, the way that your gums feel, the way that your tongue feels, the way the back of the throat feels, all this stuff. And he, I had this, I was like, this is really cool. He looked at me, I don't know, there are only 8 of us, so the odds are 1 in 8. He said, it's not magic, it's just wine. And it was a really cool moment for me. And then later, as part of the journey, we went out to a winery, and it was a very historic winery in Chianti Classico, and in the old cellar, and everyone's partying and having a good time, and super casual, like 18th generation of some producer or something like that. And so we go into the cellar, and there's all these old bottles from 1800s, crazy stuff. That it's again not expensive wine. How you and I drink it today, it's still an $8 glass of wine, something like that. But it was so cool. So wine was easy, right? Wine was just part of the culture. It was just every day glass of wine kind of thing in Italy. It wasn't supposed to be fancy, although you're in this really cool setting. And so anyway, fast forward to still during the same 4-month period, my father and mom came out to visit me. My dad and mom came out to visit me, and my dad rents a car, and I turned 21. And we go to visit a winery, and it was, we hadn't been in Chianti Classico before. I'd never been to Chianti Classico, save that one trip with the school there, with the 8 other guys from class. And we go to this winery that I still work with today. It's called Pogerino. It's out of Chianti Classico, Rada in Chianti. And I had my eureka moment and tasted the wines and heard this incredible story about the family and the vines, and literally had this, said, well, if all wines are this good, this would be a really cool job. And my dad's in residential real estate sales. We're from Indiana. And he goes, well, I don't know the first thing about wine importing, distribution, whatever. He goes, I used to throw some Carlo Rossi on the shelf when I was, trying to get through college in Indiana. But outside of that, I know there's those 3 things, and it's about as much help as I can give you. So I went back, and I had this idea of starting this business, and I had a failed startup in Chicago. And then got in debt and moved to New York, and had an opportunity to get out of debt working in New York, and lived in a hotel for 3 years to pay off the debt and all this, stuff. And then I went back to my boss and I said, I got this idea. I want to take 2 months off. I was 24 years old. And the guy looks at me, he's like, you're crazy. I said, well, everyone's leaving. This is in a consulting practice in healthcare. So it's nothing to do with the world of wine. I had no idea what was going on in wine. But I said, I have this desire to go back and sort of finish this idea. I have this thing in my head that I think I could start to import some wine to the United States. And so I go back and I see Pogerino, and I go to Pierre and I said, hey, Pierre, I've got $10,000 saved. I've got a license to import wine to the United States. I'm going to be living in Colorado, and I'd like to bring your wines into Colorado. And he said, where's Colorado? I said, well, it's between California and New York, and I'm going to pay in cash for the palace. What do you have to lose? You know what I mean? He goes, well, let's go. And so I brought him the wines, and it wasn't because of me. It was just because he makes great wine. A year later, he was in the top 100. And then the second producer I brought in was a guy named Enrico Rivetto from Serralunga d'Alba, so Northwest Italy, the Piedmont. And similar story, I brought in his wines that next year. But remember, if you can imagine it, you have a catalog of wines at Southern, right? Well, I had an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And on one side, it was a landscape picture of Chianti Classico and my little face in the corner of it. On the other side, it had 15 wines, 13 of which were coming soon because I didn't actually have them.
Coming soon, yeah.
And it was Chianti Classico from Pogerino, and then this little Chianti Classico Reserva. Those were my only 2 wines. So I was going out selling wine, knocking on doors. I had no experience. It was just bootstrapping this thing, man.
A team of one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I had figured out how to outsource my delivery. And so I was knocking on doors. I remember my first customer was in Colorado at this really great little independent store. At the time, Colorado was all independent. Now that's changed considerably. But I walked in, and the buyer, her name was Ashley at the time, she gave me a chance, bought a case of Pogerino. And that was my first sale in September of 2007. And so I went from there and just built a territory up to $50,000 in sales, then hired somebody, then built another territory up to $50,000 in sales and hired somebody. And meanwhile, I was working 2 jobs. I kept the consulting gig to pay for what I was trying to build. So I'd do from 6 a.m. till noon, doing the consulting thing part-time, noon to 6, going out trying to sell cases of wine, and then 6 to midnight, coming back to work still part-time for the consulting gig. And I would do that for 5 years while I was building out this business. And it was learning as you go. Building the plane while flying it is the expression that I heard recently.
And it's usually that's a common story among all of us that are within this amazing field, is that usually we don't plan it out. This is not something that when you're in high school, okay, this is going to be my vision. I'm going to go into the wine business. It's something that just happens. Like you said, just the field chooses you, and you're just in the right place, right time. You meet the right people, and something clicks. something changes.
The coincidence that all of the coincidences that you find I think in life, but the wine business itself, maybe it's the hospitality business. I don't know. It's just full of these incredible opportunities when you put yourself in a position for them to happen. Yeah. And I happened to be in Radin Chianti that day, and the wines were just awesome to drink. And it literally changed my life. The place was open, right? We didn't go to any other winery that day. We went to that one place, spent an hour and a half there, then drove back in because my mom was in the leather markets, trying to buy us Christmas gifts that would probably, be wallets and like little leather jackets or something like that you could get in the Mercato Centrale of Florence. It was just a really cool moment, but it's been like that over and over. I remember I had this really cool opportunity. Again, same thing. I was just getting started. There was a guy from France that I was looking to bring in some of his wines. Again, I had no idea. I thought that 91 from Wine Spectator meant you were like a unicorn wine. And so it was like, I got a 91 on my Bordeaux and you should come out to Vinexpo. And I was at that time still in Italy for those 2 months trying to figure this thing out. So I went out there. I didn't have any money. So I took the train, overnight train. I do the, our version, what we call an Italian shower, but I live in Italy. So I know it's not an Italian shower. It's just some dude with no money, washing his armpits out before he goes to the trade show. Yeah. In the train bathroom. Anyway, so I go out there and they put me up in an army barrack. I had to pay for it, but I didn't have a place to stay. So I checked in with Vinexpo and they put me up in this army barrack, and I had never been to France. Sunday night, I didn't know that grocery stores weren't open. The restaurants were closed, and we were removed from the area of Bordeaux. It was 30 minutes away. So I go to the front desk of this Army Barracks hotel and said, is there a restaurant open? The guy spoke some broken English. I was able to get a couple of words in. He said, no, but there's an American guy that's going to be going into Bordeaux if you want to split a cab with him. I said, yeah, that'd be great. I've only got like $60 total for transportation and dinner over the next 2 days. So it'd be great to split a cab. So I get in there and it wasn't an American. It was Peter Gagal, the chief winemaker of Penfolds. Oh,
Peter Gagal. Wow.
That's fantastic. So I get in the car with this guy. I have no idea who he is.
Wow.
And he's, an Australian guy. I said, hey, how you doing? He's got a great accent. I start talking to him and he's just listening. He just asks me questions and listen. I didn't know who he was or what he does, right? He was just being a really nice authentic guy and just asking a young guy some questions on their way into town, keeping a conversation. And in the end, he goes, oh, this is, so cool. It's nice to meet you. He told me all about him and what he was doing. And in the end, we get into Bordeaux. He goes, what are you going to do for dinner? And I said, Peter, I've got about $10 to my name. So I'm going to go find like a sandwich on the street, walk around for 30 minutes. And then I'm going to find a way to get back in town. He goes, well, no, you're not. You're going to come with me to dinner. I've got my European head of sales and marketing is with me, and you're going to have a steak and some delicious wine with us. And then we're going to go back together. And then tomorrow, let's see what happens. And so, it was like, I was lucky, right? I happened to be, but it was from there, sort of these other moments were born where he gives me a business card. The next day, he goes, we'll have breakfast together. Then when you go back to Italy, you need to go to Castelli Gabbiano, which is a wine that we make at Penfolds, and tell them that you're a friend of mine. Yeah. Okay. Great. Now I'm a friend of Peter's. This is really great. I'm feeling really good about this trip that I took, right? And so I go, and I got a buddy from Florence that owns a wine bar down there. It's a really great wine bar. And I said, hey, would you come out with me and check out this wine? I know it's commercial, but let's go check it out. So I drop off the business card. I said, Peter asked me to come visit. It's like the heavens descended. All these people come down. Oh, you're a friend of Peter's. How do you know Peter? Wow. And the wherewithal to be like, oh, we were just at Vinexpo together, acting like I actually, it was a planned trip, And so they were so kind. They invited me back. But the winemaker was a young guy, and he was from Australia. And just again, like how a wine culture is in Italy and sort of why I love the industry. He invites me back with my buddy from the wine bar, and we're tasting the wines that he's making, sort of the reserve wines that don't make it to the market. And I was so impressed with the fact that he looked at me. And again, remember, I have no idea what's going on. I'm learning as much as I can. I'm just literally trying to soak it all in. But he looked at me and my friend Chiro, who knows a lot about wine. and he goes, "So what do you guys think?" Right? He didn't tell us that the wines were great. He was vulnerable, and he was just like, "What do you think?"
Yes.
And I said, "Man, I wish I could give you some sort of a comment about the wines, the winemaking. I think they're delicious. I think the wines are really great." Chiro just goes into all the things that are deep in the culture of Sangiovese and winemaking, and he could just get into it. And I was sitting there going, wow, like the fact that this guy was he just threw it out there. He said, "What do you guys think about the wine? Am I making a good wine?"
Exactly. Yeah.
It wasn't arrogant. It was totally, I'm from Australia. I'm trying to make a really authentic expression of this really historic wine, Chianti Classico. And I'd love to hear if you think it's good.
That's fantastic.
Anyway, how human is that experience? You know what I mean? Like, it's just asking, "Hey, is this okay? Would you drink this?" It was great.
And that's honestly, that's one of the first things that I was able to connect with the industry was that spirit. That's first of all, the spirit of generosity. I think that our world is once you come in and they see you level enthusiasm and curiosity, you know how this is. You go to a winery, you're curious, they go crazy.
Oh yeah, they go nuts.
Stuff and taste this.
Yeah. And it's not because they want to. It's like when you have people over to your house. You know what I mean? Like I love to see people's expressions when there are a lot of bottles on the table because there's nothing planned, right? It's all okay. What do you think about this? As opposed to, "Oh, you should like this," because it's more, "All right, tell me what you think. I'll open up 5, 10, 15 bottles. Until you find something that you want to enjoy, I'm going to keep going because I'll figure out what to do with them once the night's over, if there's anything left. But in the meantime,
and like you said, that's embedded in that spirit of hospitality. It's true. That's that spirit of I want you to feel happy. I want you to feel comfortable and have a good time. And like you said, hosting a party at your house. And
I remember, this probably still happens to you a lot, but it doesn't happen as much as it did in the restaurant industry, where you would go to a restaurant and then a couple little glass pours would come out just for you to try them. And somebody would come over and talk to you and say, "Hey, what do you think about this wine? What's going on? Try this dish. Chef just made it."
Yeah.
I think we've lost a little bit of that.
Yes.
In that everyone is so conscious of how much stuff costs, food costs going out, and you've got to really protect that at the restaurant.
Yeah.
Cost of wine. And so you're really fighting for every square inch of revenue or profitability or your program. And it's hard to find the time to just make people happy. I know you're in the service industry, right? You're in the hospital, but you're working so hard, and sometimes we lose that. And
that's a great point, Charles. And honestly, it's something that unfortunately is becoming more and more common in the industry. When I came up working at Charlie Trotter's from 2001, 2005 here in Chicago, working at that place, Charlie was ambassador of what hospitality was all about and excellence. And we were empowered to do whatever it took to be able to make guests feel comfortable and create that experience for them. So I remember situations, since this is where I would be talking to a guest and the guest wasn't too comfortable in terms of what they wanted or understanding their own likes and dislikes. And I would just do a mini tasting at the table.
Yeah.
I'll bring in like a half an ounce of different stuff and have them taste and go around and discussion. And that for them was something, a revelation for them. And an experience in itself.
I think it's funny, here in Italy, people will charge you for a mayonnaise packet or a ketchup packet, right? But if you ask to try the wine, they'll line up the glasses and boom, 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 until you find something you like.
Exactly.
And it's kind of the opposite on our side in the States, where it's, you get your dessert, get your little extra side, no problem. But the wine program already, I think about it from just the general. I go into a restaurant and I'm looking for a great experience. And I think that that's why we go out. Ultimately, we all want to get out of the house. We don't want to wash the dishes. We don't want to prep and clean. So we're looking for an amazing environment where I can just relax, hang out, and not have to worry about all the extra stuff that comes with meal prep, let alone whether I can make food, right? I burn water, right? So then you go out and how can I, on the service side, generally everybody wants someone to have a great time in their restaurant, right? But man, lists can be intimidating. Yeah. Right. If you don't, that's why I think mixology has been so amazing over the past, 10, 15 years, because it's been so welcoming at the bar where there's so much creativity and people can try a drink. And if you don't like it, it's not a big deal. Let's get you something else, sweet, sour, whatever. It's hard to do that when you're talking about $75 to $200 bottles of wine, which kind of is where things go right now in restaurants.
Correct.
And and then I feel bad, and I'm in the business, but I feel bad if the wine isn't what I wanted it to be. Yeah. And so I'm not going to send a bottle back. I chose the bottle.
Correct.
But man, I'm already in for $75 or maybe more. And so if I'm out with my family and friends, you can't put them in the hurt box on the wine tab when we're already in it for $35 for spaghetti and meatballs. Correct. I'm being stupid about the dish, but you know what I'm saying?
Correct. But I think all comes down, like comes back to what I do, which is education. And I think I think restaurants need to go back to the basics, teach a lot of the servers now, because a lot of restaurants can't afford a sommelier on the floor. The som is basically now the new GM and doing multiple tasks across the board. So it comes down to the servers themselves to have that level of ownership of understanding. First and foremost, it's hospitality. It needs to start there, from that predisposition to take care of somebody and create an experience and have that genuine, sincere willingness to really have that empathy. That I want you to really feel comfortable in my restaurant.
I think that part of that is empowering them to make their own choice, right? I feel so much better when I feel like I own my decision. Yeah. As opposed to being told what to do. And that's where that's why everyone, I think what people do most often is, what do you like? What do you recommend? And so you just kind of relinquish the responsibility of it, as opposed to, like you're saying, like, if we invest, if we double down on education on the service team across the restaurant, if they can give somebody that little extra bit of information that helps them make their own decision. Correct. All of a sudden now I'm the guest going, oh, that sounds great. No, I love those types of wines.
Correct, Charles, because you want them, at the end of the day, essentially is their palate. And is their likes and dislikes. So you want them to participate in that decision making. So when they bring it to me, the days I was working at the restaurant, what you recommend, I would always turn it around back to, what do you like? So I start to create some sort of, try to probe in the way that I can get some information that is valuable, that I can understand their likes and dislikes in terms of, do they like wines with high acid? Do they like wines with more fruit intensity, more minerality, more restraint, more forward? Where is the case? But basically, on those smart questions that I'm asking in a very subtle, very discreet way, I'm getting an idea of their taste profile, and then I can better gauge basically what I can recommend from them.
I think the best part about that experience is that you did it prior to going down the road that you then went down, right? To go get all the certifications and the incredible education that you've got. This was more instinctive in terms of how you were prepared at the restaurant, like how they taught you. It wasn't that, okay, now that you are where you are in your career, that like, you didn't do that when you were getting started. It was more like, all right, how can I get more information from my guests to make sure they have a great experience?
Exactly. And again, it goes back to hospitality. It goes back to having that sincere intention to really take care of somebody. And hospitality, it's not a weird concept. It's something that I learned that from my grandmother, that idea of hospitality. Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I'm over here in Europe, and hospitality is a big part of Italian culture. It's a big part of Portuguese culture. It's a big part of Spanish culture, right? They want you to feel at home.
Oh, yes.
And they want you to come back. And that's part of why people travel around to restaurants that are the same brand, because they feel welcome there. They know the menu. They feel very comfortable, or they love to go into these new experiences where there's a high level of that hospitality, not customer service, but, making people feel very welcome without being on top of them and always asking, how's your water? Stuff like that. It's people want to be relaxed.
Exactly. And be in tune with that, read the tables, and it's an art, but at the same time, it's very intuitive. It's something that we need to go back to, that just intuition in terms of what feels right at the moment.
You're out there a lot in the field. Do you see more stability in the restaurant industry in terms of people sticking around longer in the jobs? Or are you still seeing a lot of turnover?
A lot of turnover. It's fairly recent. Yeah. So basically after COVID, everything shifted and changed. And I think we're still starting to find a little bit of stability since then, but it's only 2025, right? Going to 2026. So there's still some of that instability, like you said, in terms of staff. And it takes time to build a culture, build that mindset. It's all about cultural. At
the restaurant level, you mean?
Yeah, at the restaurant level. Yeah. Creating that we're all thinking in the same way. We all have that same mission, like Charlie Trotter's. This is what we do. This is how we approach it. And we're trying to deliver this experience. And it takes a buy-in.
It's the same thing at the bottle shop level, at the wine store level. That culture can be instilled with the team members and the staff, because there are certain places where you go where they've got like a house palate. You know what I mean? Right. You're going to go in there and you're going to get this style of wine. And so for us also, as sales professionals, you go out there and you go, all right, I know when I walk in here, you can't bring a knife to a gunfight, right? You got to have the right wine for the right customer. Otherwise, you're going to waste their time, and then you lose credibility. And now your wine is either more expensive or whatever. It just doesn't fit, right? And so because the culture of that store is unique, and there's a real, I hope, at least as we get into 2026 and the future of our industry, I hope there's more stability in that regard. I remember back when Denver was just this mad development. There were all these new restaurants going up downtown. I forget, the number was crazy. There were like 30 or 40 restaurants, and Denver's downtown is not particularly large, and it wasn't that large like it is today, 10 years ago. And so when you had 30 or 40 restaurants open up just in like the downtown area because of all the new development, it was nuts. And people would go from one great restaurant to the other, because there's a lot of, when the restaurant opens, everyone in town is going there to try out. So if you're a really good waiter, waitress, whatever, you can make a lot of money in those first 6 months, right? Yeah. And then it started to settle out, and the turnover also settled down, because people just sort of came into their culture within the restaurant. They found where they fit, and then dug into the culture of that restaurant and helped build something really unique. And now Colorado, I think Denver has a really cool food culture that's come about because of all the amazing chefs, and obviously the people that help create that industry are legendary. But the way that it's evolved now, it's got a really unique appeal, I think, in terms of what Colorado's done. And you see that also being born in Nashville, and you see it in Atlanta, and you've seen all these great second, third markets really come up in terms of food culture. And what I hope in 2026 is that we see more of that stability in terms of the people not moving around as much. So we can also build more out, right? Build more of that relationship with the team, with the staff, and become part of that culture and
create consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's key. Consistency, and you can build from that. So go on that note. I'm a believer of culture and building that culture, and that culture comes from the top, right? It comes from the leaders. And like in your case, how you apply that to your business, because I've seen your people are immensely clear in their vision in terms of, and that doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from you as a leader.
I mean, I can't take that credit. I think it starts with, they're just really smart, motivated, autonomous, very driven individuals. And so their desire to dig deep and get educated is all their own. I think you have to provide some tools. You've got to provide, we look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Food, water, and shelter. You've got to give that base to the folks that are out preaching the gospel, if you want to call it that, right? Talking about the brands, representing the opportunity to the wholesale level, to the restaurant, retail level. And then you can build confidence from there. And so you have to have the right tools in place. So people are like, oh man, this is great. It was a few years back, I was a wholesaler. Then I became a national importer. At the time I was just a regional importer, if you want to call it that. I was in a few states, just sort of as a defense mechanism to the success of the brands in Colorado. I started to sell the import portfolio into some other markets. And then when I sold the wholesale business in 2017, I was able to expand across the US into 34 new markets in 2019, rolling into 2020. And a lot of those markets were Southern markets, which is an incredible opportunity for me to get aligned with the Southern network in 25 plus states. Rolled in right into COVID. And so it was really challenging because then all of a sudden, fine wine people were not able to be as active in the market. Restaurants were shutting down, all the stuff that we know about. But in that time, we really did some soul searching because I'd had 2.5 years of trying to figure out who Volio was as an importer. And my team, we all got together and we came up with, we have values and cornerstones, and it looked really vanilla in terms of we're a small company. There are like 6 or 7 of us. And you can't act like you're, this larger entity where you have these really ethical. And we came up with this thing called the BFAs, and BFAs stand for Be Fucking Awesome. And it all was born out of this idea of who are we? Well, how do you want to be remembered when you leave a room? Yes. And if I'm sitting there talking to you and you don't know me, but you invite me in because you've got my portfolio and I go meet one of your customers, and I am one of 2 things to you. I'm either a burden or a benefit to your business with that customer, to your relationship with that customer. Right. Yeah. And so my goal when I walk in, and I would say this is absolutely true for all the folks at Volio, because they came up with this. We all came up with this together, and then we're sticking to it because it works. I want you to say, man, that person was really fucking awesome. They were great to meet with. And we've got to put wind in your sails, right? So that when we leave, you've got energy, you're charged with the information, confident, you're empowered with whatever time you gave me. I have empowered you now to go out and feel like you know about our brands and who we are and what we stand for and what we're trying to accomplish. And we came up with these things about be bulletproof in your knowledge, be honest. And the biggest one for me is be of benefit. Because for me, if I'm of benefit to you, you want me to come back. If I'm of burden to you, then my wines are more expensive relative to my competitors. My wines don't taste as good because you're still sitting there trying to get me out of your room, right? You're just trying to kick me out because it's just heavy. It's a tax. And we don't want to be that. There's so much great wine out there. The last thing you need is someone that slows you down, that doesn't get you the info. And these decisions are made quickly when you're out in the field, right? Like if you need a price and you text me, man, we got to text you back. Right. If you need a text sheet, it's got to be something you can find on your own, on the website with POS and show it. And it needs to be accurate.
Correct.
And so these little things.
It's a one chance.
Yeah. And many of those individual chances create this movement, this opportunity, at least for a movement for you to say, wow, this really helped me be more successful in my territory, i.e., you made more money in commissions or whatever it is that is your ultimate goal, right? And if we were a small part of that, then you're going to continue to have us be a part of whatever your journey is, right? You're going to take us with you. And that's if you move restaurants, move retail stores, or move up in terms of management or whatever. And that's how we're trying to create this. So, I mean, that comes down to the individual, right? That's purpose right there.
Correct. Yeah, I just pull up a quote here reminding me of Maya Angelou. It's a famous quote. I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And I think that's at the end of the day, that's going back to the hospitality component. That's a core element of it. I remember I was a wine buyer at Charlie Trotter's before joining Southern Glazers. And I had the opportunity there, right, based on the level of restaurant that we were, to see everybody wanted to be there.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I got to see all styles of sales and all everything. And the common denominator of those that were good at what they did were those people, were people that were attentive. They were always there. They delivered. Because in that type of environment, I mean, I'm trying to make their lives easier, the buyers, and
yes,
and
but you can also make it a lot harder than it has to be, right? And so
they won't go back. They won't.
No, right, and they've got a lot of options. My grandfather worked in a molding factory in South Bend, Indiana, and he moved from pitching coal up to working with the unions. And he told me, he said, there are three things you have to worry about at work. You have to have a sense of urgency, attention to detail, and follow up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you have those three things, then you can build a relationship.
Yes.
And this goes back. He would be 105 right now. He passed away.
That's the core principles of business.
How hard is that?
Yeah.
Right. But when you actually get down into it, especially with your phone ringing, with family obligations, it becomes very challenging to just focus on those three simple things.
Yeah.
And sort of narrowing it down.
Yeah.
It helps you find focus. And then if you're like, okay, so what does that mean?
Correct.
And it's going back in the car and taking notes about your meeting.
Correct.
And then following up.
And I think, Charles, I think that is something that I think is pertaining today more than ever. I think that as we continue to advance in technology and society and everything that happens, I think we're moving away from those core principles, core essence that are the foundation of us and what we do at all levels as humans. And business, right? No different of that. And I think where we're looking for the most advanced technology here and there, and trying to be innovators and but we're moving away from those core principles you just mentioned. That I think.
I think that we can talk about all the technology that there is in the world, but ultimately, wine is discovered while drinking it.
Correct.
Right. I can read all about these great wines that have price points that I'm not going to pay to try. I need to be in an environment where I get to enjoy wines as they're meant to be enjoyed. Correct. And that doesn't mean that they have to be really expensive, really fancy wines. They just need to be in good company.
Experience.
Yeah. The best wines you've had are with the people that you enjoy the most.
Correct.
Right. Because you've just had a great night. I started saying this a while back, but wine shouldn't be the center of the conversation. It should just be in the center of the table. Correct. And that's how we enjoy it. And my wife and I, or when we have friends and family over, or when you and I went to dinner, we weren't sitting there picking through every wine, had it. And then we started talking about your love of music, how great that seminar was where you got to talk about music's relationship to wine and trying to break down some barriers with people that don't need to be super technical about wine, but they can relate to it if you say this wine is like this type of music. And meanwhile, we were killing the bottle. Right. And move on to the next one. Right. But that's a great night. And then I can look back. I still know what we drank. We had a great bottle of Etna Bianco. So, but that's how you create the culture. And I think that's what we need more of, because ultimately, like we were talking about technology, you can have incredible marketing. You can have all of these incredible things come out that look beautiful, but it takes one person talking to somebody else about a unique story or explaining a wine and what it means to this terroir or to this country or this family. You want that human connection.
Correct. Storytelling is critical. I've discovered that because that's how you connect. That's the human connection. When you tell a story, you're humanizing the wine. It goes beyond an alcoholic beverage. You're humanizing a story of this person and how they persevered and what was their vision and how they make the wine and all the level of love and sacrifice that goes into it. And then the wine tastes different because there's context now.
Yeah. And you can memorize the maps and you can look at the slopes and the dirt and all that, and great. But when you get out there, you have to be there, right? I can't tell you what chalk limestone rock feels like in a vineyard. Okay. I can't give you the tactile sensation of that.
Correct.
You need to go out in your backyard and put your hands in the dirt and think about, now I understand. That's why when we talk about wine, I always talk about it in relationship to your garden or your backyard.
Correct.
Because
easy
people know how to take care of tomatoes, right? I know it's not the same, but you have similar problems. You get bugs on salad that you're growing in the backyard, right? Like that, this stuff happens. And so, oh yeah, I get that.
Your conversation earlier reminded me of right, that experience of drinking wine and what wine does from a communal perspective, right? Bringing people together, how essential that is, because the activity itself, like you mentioned, wine being just not the central point of it, but just part of it. It forces you as a human being, right? Us as human beings to be present. And I think, again, with our busy lives and the way we live today, we're living in our heads. We're lost. We're not connected to ourselves, not connected to the people around us. And I believe, this is the belief perspective, that we need to reconnect to that soul component. And wine is a bridge for that, in that essence, because it obligates you to be present, obligates me to sit down, have a conversation with you, look at your eyes, listen to what you have to say. And just for that moment, for that instance, wherever that is, an hour, half an hour, 2 hours, wherever it is, I'm fully present in conversation and that awareness of the people that I'm with. And I think we are overlooking that, all this anti-alcohol movement, lumping wine with that. I think, first of all, I think it's a disgrace in the regards that wine is being part of that, being something that has been part of civilization from mankind.
Yeah, I think the anti-alcohol movement is a moment in time in that the pendulum is swinging back to the same extreme that it went the other way during COVID. People just got after it way too much.
Correct.
Right. And so
they use it as a
now
medication.
We're just going right back the other way. And this is it's an American story that's becoming a worldwide thing where it's just like, okay, I should just stop because it must be bad for me. Well, there were a lot of other things that you probably did during that time that created this sort of cumulative effect about isolating yourself and drinking.
That's what I mean. Isolation itself is it's one of the greatest reasons why increase in terms of antidepressants and anxiety.
I've got 3 children. My oldest is 11 years old. He had to go to homeschool in what would have been his first year of elementary school.
Correct.
Well, it had an impact on the little guy, right? He wasn't drinking wine and then decided to stop drinking because it had affected his way. No, it was just my little man was like, all right, I didn't get a chance to be as social as I wanted. He's breaking out of his shell now. He's great. But there was a period of time there where he wasn't the same guy full of energy because he was deprived the opportunity to go be social.
Correct.
And that wasn't wine related. Right. And so if we're looking at the health benefit of wine or the what could be a negative attribute of drinking too much wine.
Correct.
Like everything in moderation, right? Like
moderation.
Okay. Absolutely. So great. Now we've overcome that barrier. Don't sit by yourself and drink 4 bottles of wine and think that it's good for you because it isn't. Okay. Correct. Okay, great. You wouldn't sit and eat 13 cookies either. Right. Correct. You're going to get a stomach ache. So, okay, let's all be reasonable. And now we have a glass of wine and that's fine.
But we can't, I think pleasure, I mean, going back, I want to get too philosophical, but from Epicurean perspective, right? Pleasure, it's an important component in life. It enriches the experience of life. You can't be abstinent of everything because it's part of it. But within the context of moderation.
I'm with you. No, again, you bring a bottle of wine to a party.
Yeah.
Because you want to open it and enjoy it. You're not giving it to somebody and say, hey, when you're alone, I recommend you drink that.
In a dark room.
It's just not how it works. The idea of bringing something to the party is because you want to enjoy it with people. That's the idea around it. So yeah, I agree with you 100% that it's all about finding pleasure in the things that you enjoy the most, getting together with people, friends and family. Correct. If anything, you open up a bottle of wine with somebody, you want to stick around until you finish it, which means you're going to hang out and talk about more stuff, right? Like that's
exactly. And that's healthy in itself. And that creates, your hormones and endorphins and gives you that in itself is healthy. It's a mindset component. So Charles, I was going to ask you also, you specialize in Italian wines, high quality Italian wine portfolio.
That's nice of you to say thank you.
And I truly believe that in terms of reintroducing or introducing wine culture to this younger generation, I personally think that Italian wines have a big responsibility in that regard because of what Italian culture is all about.
I completely align with you. I mean, that's why I'm so deep in this thing. If you look at the number of restaurants across the United States, you get more Italian restaurants than you do French restaurants, than you do maybe save sushi and Mexican restaurants. It's Italy, pizza, pasta, right? When you think about Monday through Thursday, I promise you that most Americans are having something from the Italian cuisine at least once over the course of the week. A pasta at lunch, a pizza on a Thursday or Friday night, something like that. So it's part of who we are. It's part of our culture. And if you look at the overall import universe of wines, Italy is way out there. It's above 30, almost 40% of the overall import wine space. And so it's got a great share of that space. I agree with you. It's both a responsibility, but it's also an incredible opportunity. You look at Pinot Grigio and Prosecco are still growing in 2025 compared to 2024 in an otherwise down market. Why is that? Well, I live in Treviso, so I'm very close to Prosecco. Okay. And I was out there just the other day talking to a winemaker, and he gave me a really great explanation about why Prosecco is poised for additional growth. Okay. So I'll frame it. Prosecco is around 800 million bottles a year production. Champagne, 320 million bottles a year, something like that, 300 million bottles a year. Franciacorta, which is a category that you and I both enjoy and is gaining a lot of popularity. Total production is around 20 million bottles a year. Okay, so Prosecco is consumed outside of the Veneto a lot in the United States. Okay, a lot of what we see in terms of that total numbers consumed in the U.S. Franciacorta is like 94% consumed in Italy. So it's a classic method sparkling wine. Champagne worldwide, obviously incredible success, but many years of success. Franciacorta was born in 1961. Prosecco been around for a while, but really Prosecco's big boom is in the last 15 years. Let's be serious. Okay, so why is Prosecco successful? Well, it's a utility player. You can use it in a Bellini, in a mimosa. It's light, it's fresh. It can have sugar, so it's got some of that weight to it. It's not too serious, so it's a party wine. It's low in alcohol naturally because the yields are very high. So if we're looking at price points, great. Opening price points, right? You can find Prosecco still at $9.99. You can find it up to $20, but the lion's share of what we're seeing bought at the store or consumed by the glass is $8 to $12.
There's potential for growth on the DOCG level.
They're trying like hell, but let's be serious. Like most people are not looking to have Grand Cru experiences in Prosecco. And so what most people want to do is have just a good glass of wine.
Correct.
Or they want options for people. So they put out a bottle of Prosecco. If you want to drink it straight, cool. Otherwise, here's some peach juice, here's some orange juice, and make a cocktail out of it. And so the versatility of it, but it's also because of the category, it's also able to hold the price point pretty reasonably because they found a way to produce it that if you were to say to me, Charles, I've got this customer that's looking for a really great lower alcohol, fresh style of Prosecco. Great, no problem. They produce that. It's natural because it's a pretty high yielding varietal. So you're naturally lower in overall alcohol. And so the future looks pretty good for them. Pinot Grigio, light, bright, fruit driven, easy to drink, right? Yeah. Just keep it cold. It's crisp and you're good to go. So Italy, and then, coming back to your question, Italy is exploratory. You've seen more people go to Sicily since White Lotus. You've seen directs into Sardinia. You've got all these flights coming. So people travel here. It's like the number one destination for Americans outside of the US is coming into Italy for Europe.
And I'm honestly, another great opportunity for Italian wines is the abundance of indigenous varieties. And I think the consumer, particularly younger consumers, open to these new experiences. Nothing wrong with Chardonnay and Sauvignon Blanc, all that. Nothing wrong with that, but they want these kind of localized indigenous varieties that's new for them, and it's.
I 100%. So it's exploratory, right? You come into Italy and you're 7 days in Italy and you spend 7 days in 7 different cities. You're always exploring. It's the same thing on an Italian wine list, right? You go in and you're like, I I'd like to try this. What's that? Pecorino. What is that? I'll try that. What's this?
There's no
Trebbiano.
redundancy. No.
Sure, let's go. Right. And so you can explore a world of wine within the country of Italy. Yeah. And it never gets old. And so again, people can ask questions, and there's always a good story to tell. Oh, this guy's crazy. This woman's making wine, this pioneer in this region is just killing it. Like all these great stories come out. And it's because number one, also Italy's done a great job of keeping wine relatively inexpensive.
Yeah.
And having very high quality levels. So I can have a glass of wine for $12 and I can have something really delicious and it's something I've never heard of.
Absolutely.
So you're kind of because it's a reaction, right? You either like it or you don't, and then you ask a question. If you don't like it, you kind of say, what else do you have? But if you like the wine, you tend to ask questions to whoever's around you. Do you like what? Did you get this? What is this?
Exactly.
I don't know what this is. Oh, that's rosemary. Oh yeah, that's rosemary. My God, it's incredible. This is so cool. Right? You ask questions.
Opens up conversation. But it's true. It's just the whole element of Italian wine from wine being basically a food element and incorporated into a culture itself and what it means and what it represents. I think it's a great starting point for a lot of the younger generation to really connect with wine the right way, what wine really is all about, what it represents. Charles, have a great conversation. I enjoy very much with what we have discussed and listening your perspectives in terms of wine and what's happening in the wine world and where we're going. I want to end our conversation with one question. And the question basically is, why wine matters?
Why does wine matter? Well, I think it's not an easy question to answer. I think that wine is essential. I don't know that in as much as it matters, I think it can matter more to me or to you than to someone else. But I think it's just essential in the overall experience of life. And that might be too dramatic, but nonetheless, like, again, you go to a party, you bring a bottle of wine just to tell someone that you care about them, that you're excited to go to their house. You go to Paris, you go into Tuscany, and at lunch, you're having a glass of wine. Why? Because you're there. It's just part of the experience, right? So I think that wine matters because it's just part of the experience. And that could be the same if I'm going to Santa Barbara for the first time and you're at a pizza place and you don't know much about the city, but you stop and you're like, oh, they make wines in Santa Barbara? Cool, I'll try a glass. No. Right? You can support local by having a Colorado wine, an Iowa wine, an Indiana. Like, there's a way to engage culturally wherever you go through wine.
Yeah.
It's not an obligation. It's like having a beer, but at the same time, it's part of the experience.
Part of the experience.
And so it's and it can be as much as you want it to be.
Exactly. It enriches your life. It stimulates, right? It couldn't stimulate at an intellectual level if you want, because you can dive deep and like we've done and dive into all the geekiness, but also you can also be stimulated and connected at that emotional level.
Yeah.
I think that's at the end of the day, that's what really matters in all this. That brings us all together, creates community. There's love and joy and enriching all positive values that comes out of wine from the growing all the way to the enjoyment at the end.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that there are a lot of people involved. It's an actual product that is not, great wine is not industrial in the way that it's made. No. And so there are people pouring their heart and soul into this thing, and they want you.
Yes.
They want you to think that it matters because for them it's everything.
Correct. Right? That's why the storytelling is essential.
Yeah.
To tell those stories and tell that effort and sacrifice and vision. And I think once you do that, once you be able to convey that, like I said earlier, the wine tastes different. There's a level of appreciation.
Yeah. Context matters.
Context matters. Absolutely. Well, Charles, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, buddy.
Very much the conversation. Looking forward to continuing the good work and spreading the good word in 2026. I think what you're doing with Volio is spectacular. Like I said earlier, your portfolio is well selected, great representation across the board.
Thank you.
Valdeosta, what you did,
Oteen. Yeah.
Yes,
Volio,
yes.
all those guys. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's just phenomenal stuff that I think right now are going to be more important than ever. Like I said, from a storytelling and be able to convey that message to this younger generation. So, Charles, thank you for your time. Charles Lazzara, founder and CEO of Volio Imports. I'm your host for today, Serafin Alvarado, Director of Wine Education for Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits. So thank you, Charles.
Thank you. It's great to see you, Serafin.
Thanks for being on Served Up.
Thanks for listening. Served Up is brought to you by Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits. Produced by Zunu.online. Music by We Killed the Lion can be found on Spotify. Make sure to subscribe to be notified of our future Served Up episodes. Cheers.